Hey guys. I'm a little bit sad to see right now. I did actually get a culture confirmation from MedPoint that I have strep, so I'm on antibiotics now. I'm about tired of just being sick over and over again, so hopefully this will be the last of it. Um, itchy nose. Um, but I've been reflecting on events and things from the last week or so, and there's something that I would like to say on a topic that is both near and terrifying to me personally. And the topic is on gaslighting, manipulation, and brainwashing. Um, so, yeah, this will be a super fun one. So, as a bit of background, um, I have a particularly susceptible mind to that kind of pressure, the very, very specific religious and social pressures of my upbringing, along with the emotional pressures of my primary caregivers, mean that I was really deeply brainwashed from a very early age, um, mostly to do with religious dogma and belief. Um, but this has primed me to be particularly vulnerable in certain ways to people who use similar tools. Um, so I have had to put a lot of effort into recognizing and growing boundaries along those vulnerabilities. Um, if you've ever been in a brainwashing situation, or if you've ever been um, in a close personal relationship with a very severe narcissist or someone who is very skilled with gaslighting or manipulation, you will kind of understand where I'm coming from. Um, but there are people in the world whose goal is to convert other people to their own way of thinking and believing and their own value systems, rather than appreciating an individual for their own way of thinking and appreciating their value system. Their actual goal is to convince people to think what they think, believe what they believe, and to function under that cloud thinking. Um, and you find this in cults, you find it in branding, you find it all over the place to different degrees. And you hear a lot about it when it comes to gaslighting in relationships, um, because trying to convince someone that what they believe about reality is wrong is the way a lot of those types of people maintain their ongoing relationships, especially if the way that they behave would eventually drive off someone who had strong, solid boundaries. They're going to be shopping for people who have more flexible boundaries, who have less defense against that sort of training. It is a kind of training. Um, it is a kind of grooming process. And it begins when someone who is this way finds someone who is susceptible. So the reason that this is relevant to me right now is because about 4 days ago, I think, 4 or 5 days ago, I was at the gas station pumping gas, and I looked up and noticed a man at a pump on the opposite side behind me, and I was like, cool jammy pants. He's got nice shoulders. That's my fucking ex. God damn it. That was pretty much the initial process right there. Um, God, he's handsome. But that's entirely beside the point. The point is, as much as I still genuinely believe that this person has, I don't want to say good intentions, but I don't believe that they have malicious intentions. The fact is that my ex is such a deeply developed and pervasive user of manipulative and training tactics, that I'm not sure that it actually matters anymore what their overall intent is when it comes to things, because they cannot at the end of our relationship, which is going on 2 years ago, they were incapable of actually putting another person's genuine needs ahead of their own sense of discomfort. And that is where a lot of this plays from, is that when a person has persistently seen their own comfort as more important than the basic needs of other humans, needs like safety, trust, bodily autonomy, I find it impossible to trust their intentions anymore. And I will give you the example of this. It has been almost 19 months since I have been in the same physical location as my ex, where we've been interacting with each other. One of our last interactions was, even via email, so obnoxious that in the back of my head I'm like, how were you ever with this person? How were you ever with them? When I realized who it was standing there 50 feet away with their back to me, the overwhelming sensation that came from somewhere back here up to the front of my head, that actually made me take half a step toward them before I got a handle on it, was this surge of emotional memories about their sense of betrayal when I left, their sense of loss, their pain, their loneliness, all of these things that they continued to project at me through the limited communication that I allowed when we started breaking up. And this overwhelming urge to go directly to them right then and there and apologize and beg him to take me back. All of that occurred less than 3 seconds. I saw them, and that part of my brain that was so well trained to put what they wanted ahead of my own needs was literally ready to drop everything I have been building in my own life for the last year and a half, drop it all, like that, and ask if I could try again to be what it is they wanted me to be, to try to prove to them that I loved them. And I feel very, very lucky that the work that I have done and the therapy that I have had and the people in my life right now that I care about so much, I feel so lucky that I have those anchors, because when all of that came forward and I took that half step, the next thing that came out of back here was, fuck no. We're leaving. Now. In the car. When you read a story about a person in an abusive relationship that keeps going back and going back and going back, and you're like, why did they keep doing that? The process of training the brain to accept the abuse is the process of breaking down the core values of a person and replacing them with the core values of the abuser. And in every circumstance like this, the core values of the abuser are fulfilling their comforts and desires. Not even their needs, their comforts and desires. It's things like I go to the grocery store and I get things for lunch, and I come home and I make lunch, and my spouse comes home and sees the lunch that I've made, and they're hungry, and they've been talking to me about being hungry, and I have fulfilled this need for them. I spent my time and my effort. I got meat that they liked, I got bread that they liked, I have drinks that they like, the table is set, everything is ready. There's no chips. How the hell are they supposed to eat their fucking sandwich without chips on the side? They're not eating this shit. And they leave, hungry, to go be mad about being hungry because I didn't fulfill what they wanted from their lunch, which was to have the sandwich and then the crunch of the chip also. My effort didn't matter. The fact that I didn't supply the chips, that I didn't make the chips happen, proved that I didn't care about them at all. And they would rather go hungry than eat the meal without that thing. And then blame me for all of their discomfort. This is what I lived with for 6 years. From not preparing his toothbrush for him, to not getting chips with lunch, to not getting the right chips with lunch, the wrong brand of bread, the wrong laundry done incorrectly, the house having an odor that I couldn't personally smell. No matter how hard I tried to make everything as perfect as I could for them, because they had trained me that their comfort and enjoyment in the environment was the most important thing about our relationship, that nothing else mattered to them. Not really, because without these things, I obviously didn't love them. That process was gradual. It didn't start off insane. It started off with just little things that made me feel like, oh yeah, I can try harder. I can definitely try harder. I can definitely do that. Until the list of little things was so big, with so many details on it, that there was no way for any human being to actually keep track of all of that. And this was done so intently and so deeply, and worked against me so terribly with my prior trauma, that 1.5 years after the breakup, seeing him across a parking lot triggered that part of my head, that part of my brain that has been trained to respond that way to him. To go and beg for his forgiveness and ask him to take me back. That part of my brain, the mental picture that I got was me on my knees on the pavement. This is so real and so logic defying that even with my therapist and my friends and the material that I've read to try to understand how this even works, it feels like it's happening to someone else. Like, it feels like I am floating behind myself watching some kind of weird sitcom. Why would I do that? What could possibly possess me to try to go back to that? The training doesn't leave. That's the part that I would like for people to understand. Once that kind of thing has been done to you, it doesn't leave. You learn to cope with it. You train your mind daily to focus on the things that matter to you. You reestablish your own values, you practice your own values, and you flex that over and over and over again until what is you becomes more prevalent in yourself. And over time, with enough flex, it becomes significantly more prevalent than the prior training. So anytime that you are asking yourself, why would he go back? Why would she go back? Because they were trained to. Because it takes a support network and a therapy program and sometimes medication and a lot of distance and a lot of effort to not go back. Because the brain wants that familiarity. Even if what's familiar is dangerous, it wants the things that are familiar. I will never go back to that. I won't go forward to it either. I know the signs now. I'm not saying I can't be manipulated, that I can't be taken in. I'm just as human as anybody else. I do not ignore red flags at all anymore. I can't afford to. So, that's what I want to share. If someone is breaking your spirit and breaking your will and breaking down your values and trying to replace them with their own, get out. Get help. Do it. I promise it's worth it. I promise. It's not going to be easy. Lots of it won't even be fun, but it will be better. I promise you it will be better. Life on your own fucking terms is always better. And what you are experiencing, it isn't love. It's a kind of usury. It's a kind of desperate, codependent attachment. And you are not their toy. You are not their property. And you do not owe them anything. If you have become self-aware enough to realize that you are manipulating and trying to change the people around you to suit your desires, get help. Face it, own it, and stop being an asshole. Because you are damaging people's ability to trust themselves. You are damaging their ability to be independent human beings. And you are making the world a more difficult place for all of us to live in, including yourself. And I can say this with absolute honesty and frankness. The value, the strength of humanity is in our ability to adapt and grow and become. And once you begin undermining the bedrock of a human, you damage their ability to adapt and grow and become, and you weaken the entire fabric of our existence. If you recognize these things in yourself as something that you do to people, get help. Get help to change that. You probably aren't going to be able to do it on your own. None of us really do much of anything on our own. We're human. And if you've been there, balanced on that line, if you're there now, on that I wonder if they would take me back line, don't go back. Don't do it. Dig your toes in right where you are, uproot yourself, and transplant anywhere. Take a new risk. Even if it turns out badly, don't go back. There's nothing there except the same misery that it always was. Do better for yourself. You deserve better. You do. Don't go back. Deep breaths. Deep breaths. Push it away. Focus back on yourself. Your goals. Your values. What you want from life. And if someone fucking hands you a sandwich and a drink and says, have a good lunch, fucking enjoy it. I mean, not if you're allergic to whatever they hand you or something. I mean, you don't have to eat it. But at least take a moment to enjoy the fact that they did it for you. None of us get very far without each other. Learning to do this together thing well is worth the effort. Some days I would like to push everyone away, and some days I do. But I know I don't make it very far alone. And I kind of like my species. I dig humans for the most part. God, we can suck sometimes, but we're pretty spectacular too, you know? So, that's what I have to offer this week. Wash your hands, wash your faces, don't drink after each other. And really, really see and appreciate each other. Get the help you need. Ask for it, look for it. I'd like to see us make it, you know, another 10,000 years. Well, not that I'll see all of that, but some days I'm not sure we're gonna make it another 50. If you know someone who has struggled the way that I have just described struggling, just listen sometimes. Listen and nod and tell them, that sounds really hard. How can I help? Maybe they just need a hug. Maybe they need a beer. Maybe they need water. Maybe they need to laugh. Maybe they need to cry. Gods know I need to cry some days. And it helps just to let the pressure out. None of us have very long here. I feel like I've learned so much in the little time I've been here. Be good to each other. We need it.